Tonight, concerns over whether taxpayers will have to foot the bill for ash dam remediation, and flu season's upon us, a warning to get vaccinated.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studios, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. There's concern South Australian taxpayers would be held liable for the future of Port Augusta's ash dam site should CU River mining operations be unviable. Senator Rex Patrick is calling on the state government to adopt new measures to prevent perceived risks.
It's the $250 million port proposal helping return Port Augusta to the origins of its name. But some are concerned it may not be financially viable. In a submission to a defence report, CU River Mining suggested it wanted $67 per tonne for iron ore. But the Commonwealth's predictions for next year estimate the material will only garner $55 a tonne.
So one's got to start asking questions about the viability.
Flinders Power sold the power station site to CU River earlier this year. Senator Rex Patrick is supportive of the project, but questions whether the company's indications to double handle the material would also affect margins. His biggest fear is if the company fails, taxpayers will be left to foot the bill for the cleanup of the ash dam.
We do not want to have a situation where further down track the South Australian taxpayer has to bear that liability.
The Senator, along with state colleagues, want the state government to put assurances in place to prevent such risks.
What financial guarantees are in place?
The opposition is calling for action. The Treasurer says he is still awaiting advice from his department, but has ruled out putting bank guarantees in place.
The taxpayers are not going to give a bank guarantee between two private sector companies.
CU River Mining has rejected the claims, and in a statement to 7 Spencer Gulf News said Senator Patrick has never contacted CU River about these concerns, future ownership or port proposal, and the EPA is comfortable with our commitment to carry all EPA obligations in relation to ash dam remediation. Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
An audit by South Australia's leading motoring body has found a number of roads in the Yorke Peninsula require urgent upgrades. Sections of the Copper Coast and Spencer Highway have been highlighted as safety hazards by the RAA.
Roads left in ruin. A recent RAA audit showing major sections of road across the Yorke Peninsula are in desperate need of an upgrade.
The Yorke Peninsula Regional Road summaries show that there's a number of roads that we've highlighted which we think are deserving of some attention as soon as possible.
The RAA says slower moving vehicles such as freight and caravans are compromising the speed of commuters. It is recommending the installation of 3 new overtaking lanes on the Copper Coast Highway.
It's important to provide regular overtaking opportunities for people to safely get past slower moving traffic, and obviously to ensure that the efficiency of the network is not compromised as well.
In March, member for Narungga Fraser Ellis and Transport Minister Stephen Knoll announced $3.5 million to resurface and re-shoulder the entrance stretch of road into Kadina from Moonta. And now the Copper Coast Council is supporting calls for further upgrades to parts of the highway between Pascaville and Kadina.
So the passing lanes between here in Pascaville would be a really good way to make that a safer road for our residents.
Between 2013 to 2017, 37 people died on Yorke Peninsula roads. Council says it's fearful of more accidents during peak holiday periods if the requested upgrades are not addressed soon.
Any initiative to make our roads safer is a good initiative. Any life lost on the road is one life too many, and the road toll this year is alarming.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A truck driver managed to escape unharmed when his vehicle rolled at the intersection of Flinders and Todd Highway this morning. The truck had flipped on its side at the intersection, 25 kilometres north of Port Lincoln. Emergency services attending the scene just after 8:30, but the driver had managed to climb free of the wreckage. The incident occurring just days after government officials visited the region pledging to upgrade roads. South Australia is in the midst of one of its worst flu seasons in recent years, with over 10,000 cases reported so far. Health authorities are urging the public to protect themselves and get vaccinated.
It's one of the worst starts to the flu season South Australia has experienced. Tragically, health authorities say 10 people are already dead from influenza this year, including a teenager just 15 years old. Over 10,500 cases have been reported so far this year, compared to 1,300 the same time last year, an 8-fold increase in the number of infections.
The importance of getting vaccinated is not only to help protect yourself from viruses, but also to protect the wider community.
Some clinics around the region previously complaining they weren't given an adequate supply of the flu shot to give to their patients, with a temporary shortage of vaccines here in Port Lincoln.
Unfortunately, the South Australian government hasn't quite caught up with the fact that the demand has increased. So there's not been a problem with their production so much as distribution and getting the flu vaccine.
The vaccine will provide protection to the flu virus for over 4 months. Doctors say getting vaccinated before the flu season starts is an important step in keeping you and the people around you healthy.
Particularly in small children, specifically in babies less than 3 months, they're really at risk. And also in the elderly, there is more likely to be a death from having the flu virus.
She says she's noticed an increase in people wanting to get vaccinated and protect themselves from an influenza outbreak.
There's probably been increased numbers of flu diagnosed already in Port Lincoln. Those numbers are about 6 to 7 times higher than they were at the same time last year.
For more information, get in touch with your general practitioner. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A shortage of foster carers across the Spencer Gulf has reached desperate levels, according to the South Australian Government. 3,500 children in South Australia are currently in state care, with hundreds awaiting foster families. The government says SA desperately needs more than 50 foster and kinship carers. There's support services offered for carers, including face-to-face or by phone to families, and the option to undertake full or part-time care. For more information, visit the Foster Care website. Business leaders have been busy rubbing shoulders at Port Perry's annual Regional Voice Networking Night. The event, an opportunity for locals to hear from a range of keynote speakers about issues facing regional businesses.
Looking for ways to overcome the business blues. Local leaders gathering at Port Perry's Lions Football Club to discuss the biggest obstacles facing businesses in regional South Australia. A focus on soaring power prices.
Business SA is here in Port Pirie to talk about issues facing local businesses and to talk about federal election priorities, particularly around energy costs.
Data collected from Business SA's 2018 Regional Voice survey showing 18% of regional businesses see electricity costs as the most important issue that needs addressing.
Surveys like the Regional Voice, that energy costs are not only the number one issue facing metropolitan businesses, but the number one issue facing regional businesses.
Small Business Commissioner John Chapman says regional companies are now taking power into their own hands.
I encourage businesses to look at the options in terms of solar. If they've got their own property, that does become a realistic option. And indeed, a lot of businesses now are looking at batteries.
The Commissioner imploring local businesses to explore the energy market before settling on a provider.
It's a really important area for business. And what I always suggest to businesses is shop around. Have a look at what is available.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, fundraising underway for a brave little boy in Port Lincoln, and inclusive basketball set for another year. Welcome back. Jack Kemp is a 7-year-old boy who's been living with a rare and terminal form of brain cancer for the past 4 years, and now the community is rallying to support him and his family. The goal: raised $10,000 in 10 hours at a radiothon to be held in Port Lincoln.
He's Port Lincoln's little battler, fighting nearly his whole life against an aggressive and rare form of brain cancer. Only 7 years old, Jack Kemp has had a dozen procedures and 5 major surgeries. His last operation 4 weeks ago.
Very resilient family. They've been through a lot over the last 4 years since the first diagnosis, and the journey has been a tough one for them, and it's still ongoing.
With time running out, the community has rallied behind him and his family, setting up a fundraiser to help raise money and ease financial strain. Magic 89.9 and 5CC hosting a 10-hour radiothon tomorrow. Their goal, $10,000.
Just going to be putting the call out for our listeners to reach into their hearts, make a donation towards the Kemp family.
Jack and his mum are currently in Adelaide at the Ronald McDonald House, while his father and brother are here in Port Lincoln. The family hoping to bring Jack and his mum home so they can spend the rest of the time they have with him as a family. The Thumbs Up for Jack fundraiser gaining national support and attention.
Fitzy and Whipper have come on board with a well-wish. Kate, Tim and Marty have come on board with a well-wish, and support from Port Lincoln Hotel, McDonald's, Double Corner Store, plus various other businesses already.
The radiothon will run from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. tomorrow, with a GoFundMe page being activated in the morning. You can donate online, in person and by phone. Support for a very sick and very brave young man. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Pete's Group is moving a step closer to renewable energy by opening its 4th composting site in Whyalla today. The globally recognised eco-friendly project is hoped to support the future of the region by creating jobs.
Welcoming a green future for Whyalla. The composting facility will be fully operational by next month. It works by using food and organic waste to produce agricultural products.
All the curbside collection, all the fish waste, all those oyster shells, etc., can be turned into wonderful products that can then be put back in the soil.
Mr Wadwitz says in the next 12 months, Pete's Group will also create pellets for farmers to use in their soil, and community leaders are putting their support behind these plans.
As farmers trucking in thousands of tonnes of fertiliser every year, and that's come from overseas. So if we can produce that kind of product here in Whyalla, in Port Augusta, more power to us.
The site opens almost 12 months after the government's regional jobs and investment incentive for the Upper Spencer Gulf. The project is expected to create 15 jobs locally and up to 60 jobs in the region over the next 2 years.
What we are doing here in Whyalla will have far-reaching effects across the Eyre Peninsula and the agricultural business, and I think that's a really big positive.
The South Australian-based company is gaining international recognition with current projects in the Middle East and recommendations for local companies to also hop on board.
The companies that really use this facility get a real green tick out of it as well, so that's really important as well.
Shari Ham, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Basketballers in Port Augusta have taken to the court for the new season of inclusive basketball. The competition is tailored for people living with a disability and has this year seen new players getting involved, offering a chance to socialise with others in similar situations.
The jerseys are back on, the ball's bouncing on the court, and the players haven't lost their touch from last year.
So this has been a long time coming, the start of the season. Everyone is tremendously excited about it.
The whistle sounding, marking the start of the 4th instalment of inclusive basketball, with new players joining its ranks this season.
For the seniors comp, we've actually got people travelling all the way from Port Pirie to attend.
Tamara's from Pirie, so she makes the commute every week.
The modified competition also buoyed by a number of new volunteers lending a hand.
And saw what a great energy it was in here, and I thought if I could be involved and help in any way, I'd love to.
There's 4 senior and 2 junior sides, and organisers say the skills of basketballers continues to improve year on year.
I have a feeling some of our players have been having a bit of a training session in the off-season.
But how do the players feel when landing a ball in the net?
I feel amazing.
While the season has already begun, new faces are encouraged to turn up and give the game a try.
We know there are plenty of people out there in the community who could come and be part of this competition.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. Garth will be taking a look at the area's fuel prices and Britt will join us with the midweek weather. Hi again. Now let's take a look at the week's Fuel Watch. Here's Garth.
Welcome back to another week of Fuel Watch, where average prices are generally on the way up. But there is some disparity in between different retailers, so there are bargains to be found if you shop around. Firstly to unleaded, and it's red across the board. Prices in the Iron Triangle cities as well as Kadina are all slightly higher. Port Lincoln has jumped just over 2 cents, and in Broken Hill, motorists have experienced an increase of 4 cents. Finally to Adelaide, where you wouldn't believe the change from last week. Unleaded is now retailing at nearly $1.65, a hike of over 27 cents. Turning attention to diesel, Port Lincoln is just up under a cent. Broken Hill is on the rise at just under $1.59. Whyalla and Port Pirie are remaining even. Meanwhile, Port Augusta and Kadina have fallen slightly from last week. There's been no huge changes in autogas. Whyalla was the only region to fall, with the other areas floating at 90 cents a litre or just under. And as always, remember these prices are the regional averages and do not reflect any one particular outlet. But if you find a spot that sells unleaded diesel or auto gas for cheaper, please let us know on our Facebook page.
And for the latest weather details, here's Britt Aylan.
Thanks, Louise, and good evening. It's been a mixed bag of a day with sunny weather over Broken Hill and showers over other parts of the region. Port Augusta reached a max of 20 today, Whyalla and Port Pirie 19, Port Lincoln and Broken Hill 18, with 17 the top for Adelaide. To the satellite, with a vigorous cold front approaching the west of South Australia today, preparing to cross the state tomorrow. There'll be a very cold southwest to southerly airstream following that one. On the waters, southwesterly winds at 20 to 30 knots tomorrow with seas at 2 metres. Sunrise is due at 7:07 in the morning with sunset at 5:38 in the evening. And we can expect a wet one tomorrow. Port Augusta with a top of just 15 degrees, possible hail in the evening. Whyalla 16, Port Lincoln with strong winds in the morning, rain and possible thunderstorms through the day, 15 the top there. A stormy day for Coffin Bay 13, Woodna rain and 14, Corn 15, Broken Hill expecting showers in the late morning, a top of 17 degrees. Port Pirie with rain and possible hail in the evening, also the chance of a thunderstorm, 15 degrees. Clare 11, Cleve 13, Kadina and Adelaide both 15 degrees. Looking ahead to the end of the week now, showers continuing at Port Lincoln on Friday ahead of a cloudy weekend. Cleve also with showers on Friday, looking fine Saturday and Sunday. Woodna a cloudy end to the working week, partly cloudy through the weekend. Whyalla and Port Augusta both expecting showers on Friday ahead of a fine and partly cloudy weekend with maximums in the late teens. Kadina with showers Friday and Saturday. Port Pirie looking rainy on Friday, Saturday expecting showers, Clare with wet weather through till the end of the week, and Broken Hill clearing up on Friday and remaining fine into the weekend. And Louise, that's all for today's weather report. Back to you.
Great, thanks Britt. And that's your local news this Wednesday. We'll have updates later on, but until then, have a lovely evening. Good night.